And I think, honestly, probably now, without further ado, it is time for GM Talk with Jacob.
Hey!
I forgot we made an Artie bunker.
It's pretty freaking cool, wasn't it?
Thank you, engineering.
Yeah, thank you, engineering. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
That is the second coolest I felt today. That's not against you. I just with the thing. At the, okay.
I'm gonna hold it against
You should. You should. You absolutely should. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ask the GM with your boy Jacob Burgess. Oh, fine.
Do you want a chair?
Yeah, I do. Is that all right?
Yeah, get on the point and I'll bring you a chair.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna get on the point. I would like a chair. I'm tired of all this standing. Anyway, hi. My name is Jacob Burgess. Along with being a voice actor and a games writer and the community manager for Yizra Games, I have also been running games for a very long time. I enjoy the art of running games. I like the community storytelling and just everything surrounding what it takes to tell a story at a table. It is my opinion that RPGs and everything, that's the new sitting around a campfire and telling tales. They can be tall tales, but it's ones that everybody are involved in. Now, because being a GM is such a personal thing, every table is, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yay. Every table is an ephemeral space. You play and then it's done and it's theater. It's live theater. Played for 3, 4, 5, sometimes 2, sometimes a bunch of people. And it's great. So you may not know my bona fides as a GM. So if you go to Twitter and you look up the hashtag GMJacob, you'll see some videos from some of the people that I've played with and some of my actual players. I don't know what they've recorded. I have no idea. I asked them to talk about their experience of playing with me and said it's going to be about a minute, minute and a half. Put it on Twitter with this hashtag. I have no idea what they put. So you can go and look at those. Ian, as a matter of fact, did one. Yes, engineering, is that a thing that you might be able to put up? Is that a thing you might be able to? Hashtag GMJacob. GMJACOB. So we had collected a whole bunch of different questions, and I am here to help you with your questions. We had Namooz Boosh earlier, so let's
Let me get you a question
take
while
it away.
engineering's working on
Absolutely.
your endorsements. Games like Vampire sometimes work best when the players have secrets from one another and even plot against each other from time to time. So you can weigh in on that. And then the question is, how do you balance solo time and conflict with teamwork?
Okay. So a lot of folks, you know, you like Paranoia, for example, is an absolutely fantastic example of a game where players can be in conflict. Vampire the Masquerade, even Mage. You have folks that have, within the game, varying motivations, and sometimes they run into conflict with one another. The best thing in my mind, and again, this is all Jacob Fu, just my experience learning and being a performer and things like that. The best thing in my mind that you can do is to just check with everybody ahead of time. Here's a game where we're going to be doing these. Some people may have different motivations. We might spotlight one person and then spotlight another person and spotlight another person and spotlight another person. You have to make sure that as a GM, everybody is telling the story together. So if this person is kind of against this person, you have to make sure that all of the players have agreed to work together to tell a story. The characters themselves don't always have to do that, but everybody at the table should commit to telling a good story. And if that story is, let's make a cohesive group of people and vampires and watch it fall apart. Great. But if not everybody at the table is cool with that kind of a story, then everybody should commit to finding reasons for their characters to work together and having small moments of conflict. You've got to set the levels in order to do that.
We have a video endorsement ready to
Excellent.
show. This is from Ian Horner. Whenever engineering is ready.
My bona fides.
Jacob Burgess is a man of great strength, and his help should not be sought frivolously. Should you decide to set a task before him, he will respond with no less than his full potential, and he will not relent until his duty has been discharged. I myself once called upon his services, and through our struggles, he has earned quicker than most my admiration and utmost respect. So if you have the tenacity to seek the assistance of one who has earned the name Vampire of Victoria, mark my words, a force of nature is on your side, and woe be it to any who would oppose it.
That was glorious. And thank you.
I take my official endorsements seriously.
No kidding. Wow.
So, questions. And I will try to keep these as concise as possible.
Yeah, I have another question for you. Vampire talk.
Yep.
Because it's a thing you're known for, so I think a lot of these are going to probably be vampire related. Any tips for a first-time Toreador, or maybe just first-time Kindred in general? So maybe like you're playing your first vampire campaign, you've spiked the interest. How what can one expect? What are some?
So first time, make sure that you and your storyteller, which is what game masters or dungeon masters are called in the storyteller system. That's why it's called the storyteller system. Make sure that you have a good relationship with them. You have to decide, because it's not just like, I'm playing vampire for the first time. There's a ton of different ways to play vampire. You could play super dark and broody, I didn't want this, and now I'm going to stare out the window and into the rain forever and bemoan the fact that I've become a monster. You can play it in the style of, I am a superhero with fangs, and sometimes I drink the red stuff, but it's okay because I do good things. I'm gonna throw a truck. You can absolutely do that. It can be a whole bunch of different things. So again, it's establishing what kind of game you want to play and making sure that your character fits in with the world, the story, and everybody else that's at your table. If you're a first-time vampire player, take stock of what you are comfortable with and what you are not. The game can get very dark, and you want to make sure that you know how dark it's going to get, and you want to set your boundaries way ahead of time, because some people will use the excuse of, well, that's what my character would do, or ha ha ha, it's the player versus the game master versus all of the players. Whatever I do to you is totally fine. Consent is incredibly important, which is something that I'm sure a lot of people have heard me say. That would be my advice to a starting player.
Excellent.
Yep.
Can I ask you a bit of a heavier question?
Sure.
We just talked about consent and setting boundaries and making sure everybody's on the same page.
Yep.
But what if somebody doesn't get the memo? I have a question here that says, how do you tell your friend you don't want them in your game, either because of party size or your playstyles don't mesh or any other reason? How do you have a difficult conversation as a GM if, say, somebody's not getting the picture and is not respecting those boundaries that other people have laid out?
Right. So it's making sure, like checking in with them, and then it's different if you don't have room in the game to this person's not getting it. You've got to go.
Yeah.
Pretend you're talking about them with a job. You don't have to use direct language of you stink, go! And be like, hey, this doesn't seem to be a good fit for what you want to do. Your goals are different from the goals of the table. You should find a group that's going to better fit your play style. Mm-hmm. Make it about them. These are the things that you don't want to do. We do want to do those things. This isn't a good fit. I suggest you go and find a table that's going to fit the kind of things that you want to do. Or, hey, we don't have room. Let's see if we can find some space after this game is over. Mm-hmm. Hey, would you be up to guest starring? But yeah, if you need to get rid of somebody from the table, put it on them. Hey, this isn't the kind of table you want to play at. You should go find a table that you want to play at. This isn't a good fit. Yeah.
That's very diplomatic, but also to the point. It can't be misinterpreted.
It can't be misinterpreted. This
Right.
isn't a good fit. We can't play with you anymore. You should absolutely go and find a table that suits your play style. Mm-hmm. This isn't it. Yep. Sometimes
Very-
you need to be direct and rip the Band-Aid off, but you can still be polite about it
That is very, very wise advice.
until you don't have to be anymore.
Let's see. Let's maybe. Let's see. Ooh, this is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
How would you? Okay, so there's just sort of two styles to role-playing games. There's role-playing games where people are just like, the dungeon crawler, you're gonna hack and slash.
Yep.
And then there's the more just like, let's spend a session talking and role-playing.
Yep.
And some people are super comfortable with the hack and slash, and some people are less comfortable with the role-playing aspect because that's a big step up.
Absolutely.
So this person is wanting to know how that they can, get their, combat-oriented players more used to doing a more role-play heavy campaign or introducing those elements. How do you introduce those elements?
In order to do that, something that I tell, because a lot of my players have come from other role-playing systems like Dungeons & Dragons that may be very combat-heavy, I tell them to treat conversation like combat. You don't always need to completely be like, okay, I have to say exactly what my character is saying. I don't have to embody the character at all. You can say, hey, I want my character to do X. Because sometimes our characters are straight up smarter than us, more charismatic, better looking, stronger, faster. That's kind of the freaking point. Mm-hmm. And you can say to the GM, I would like my character to X with this person. Here's the goal that I'd like to do. I would like to do that, and then the GM and you can start working on describing that and working together to create the scene without you saying one word of the character's dialogue. It's working together to be like, here's what I want to do, and here's how the scene plays out. It doesn't have to be a word-for-word thing. It can just be kind of like a scene, and then that helps you build up to actually embodying your character if you so choose. If somebody keeps getting stuck on, how would you like to solve the problem? Punch in. Okay, here's a new problem. How would you like to solve that? Punch in. Then maybe you need to have a conversation with them about if this is the right table for them. Or how do you want to solve this problem? I'm going to talk to it all the time. It's all I do. Yeah, same thing. It goes either way.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, Kathleen, just before we
Yes.
jump into the next one, could I just do a couple of quick little bits of business?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Chat, we know we've hit $570,000. We know we've hit a bunch of milestones. I left the stage for 2 minutes and we were at 26 grand and we're at 34 now. We're just going to let GM Talk ride and we will take care of that afterwards. Also, thank you very much to that person who dropped $1,200 a couple minutes ago.
Holy
and I
moly.
didn't quite catch the name there. But thank you very, very much. We are continuing to get donations in of $8.48 for that full set of Japanese War the Spark Magic cards. That's where those donations are coming in right along the bottom there. And if you're participating in our art challenge for the Desert Bus food truck menu, you have 3 minutes to get your entry in. So if you can hear my voice, wrap it up and send that email right now. Mm-hmm. And now, back to your regularly scheduled GM Talk.
All right. I have another question here. Oh, shoot, where'd it go? Sorry, we got a lot of questions, and I'm sort of jumping around in the list. Yes, here it is. So a lot of the time, as a GM, at least I will cop to this, and maybe you can give me some advice not to. If something exciting is happening and I want my character to do something cool, I might bend the rules a little bit. I might be like, yes, that does work, and then you could describe your magnificent backflip or something. There's always times to bend the rules in games, but is there ever a time that you feel is probably really important to enforce them?
As a GM?
As a GM.
My personal philosophy is the system serves the story. If the system doesn't serve the story, then forget the system. You're there to tell a story, not necessarily be a computer and say X, Y, Z. The system, again, this is my opinion, and this is divisive within the role-playing game community. This is my opinion.
Right.
Is that the system serves the story. Nice glasses.
Thank you.
I see you've changed, Kathleen. If the system isn't working, throw out the system or ignore the system in that moment. The system is there to provide structure. It's the skeleton of your game. You are the meat and muscle and heart and eyes and blah blah blah. So that's how I think about that.
Yeah, it should be. I think I'm on the same page as you. The rules should help to serve the story and serve the players and serve
Absolutely.
the experience first.
Yep.
If you don't need them and you can do something that's more fun by just bending them a little bit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
But that might be another one of those of like, find the tone of your table.
Yes, that's exactly it. Some people really like the dice and really like those moments where everything comes down to the roll of one, like, handful of dice. Like,
Right.
that's it. Like, that's great. But I wouldn't. Again, this isn't a like. Don't throw out the system completely.
Right.
Or just use the setting and be like, cool, we're gonna play a diceless game. Set here. Let's go. Awesome.
Yeah, you can.
It depends on your table.
Yeah.
And it's your own theater that you're building for a small group of people.
Yep.
You set the rules, you set the tone. It's your own personal reality in that moment. Yeah.
Cool.
Use the system if you need to. And some people do absolutely, like, perfectly. Great. If not, take it moment by moment. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Story serves system.
Yep.
Or I'm sorry, system serves story.
Yes.
In my opinion. Yep.
Same.
Yeah.
I have another one here, and since I'm just taking over, I'm going to double check
Yeah,
and make
yeah.
sure we haven't
Yeah,
asked
go
this
nuts.
one. But would you have any advice for first-timers running their own custom campaign? This is someone who's trying to start up their own Fates campaign for the first time, and they're quite nervous. So it could be tailored to Fates, but it could also just be general, like, you want to run your own first custom campaign.
Yep.
What do you do?
Don't feel like, as if you're running your first game, don't feel like everything is on you. It's not. You can fill in a skeleton of a story, kind of know where you want it to go, and then let the players fill in the rest of the story. Obviously, you want to make sure you introduce NPCs and things like that if you want them to go in a certain direction. But sometimes your players are just going to be like, hey, I'm going to go over there and we're going to start a potion shop because we need to get into the castle. And the way to do that is to get a writ from the king. So we're going to start a potion shop. We're going to make it really successful. And then we're going to get into that castle and do what we need to do after we get a writ from the king. Okay, well, how about this thief that I just introduced that can help you break in the back door? No, 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 no. He's got a really good looking face. We're going to put him on the poster for our potion shop. Like, just sometimes you got to roll with it and let the players fill in the story. If you hold on too tight to what you want to do, then you're going to feel that tension between your group and the story. In my opinion, you've got to sometimes be ready to kill your darlings. And if things are going this way and your players really want to go this way, pushing them and go here is going to feel real weird. Improv is say yes and go. Role-playing games, in my opinion, are say maybe and try.
Well, I mean, I'll let you do whatever you want, but whether you succeed.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So it says, I want to create a potion shop. Okay, go for it.
Yes.
We'll see.
Yes. I usually kick in when somebody's like, okay, here are the things that we want to do. All right. But have you considered, nah. I usually ask that of my players. Well, I didn't really think it through. Okay, well, what do you think logically will happen if you start this potion shop? Oh, it'll work. But will it, though? You just ticked off X, Y, and Z. What do you think's going to happen? Oh, I forgot about that. So what do you want to do? I don't know, maybe break in the back? Hey, maybe break in the back. Yeah. Yep.
Or maybe it's now a campaign about gathering herbs.
Yep, and
Right.
maybe now it's just about the potion shop. Yep.
Sort of depends what your group wants, I guess. Yeah.
I would play a Littlest Potion Shop of Horrors game. Yeah.
I did that once by when I was much younger by derailing a friend's campaign unintentionally. It was we did sort of a heist, and then the villain appears and like steals the MacGuffin from us and taunts us, and the whole thing is like he had prepared this huge campaign of like we have to try and get it back from him, and we're chasing him all over the world. He had created his own setting called Intense City. It was an anime focused one.
Neat.
And I just I tried to grab it, assumed that I would fail, and like did a really good series of rolls, and then it became a campaign about us being on the run from them.
That's rad.
He just like closed his binder and then went with it.
That's really cool.
It was great.
That's awesome.
And probably as soon as the session was over, was like, oh no, what happened?
We talked afterwards. I felt bad.
I think GM tip, take notes.
Yeah. Constantly ask, are you sure? If things don't go the way that your players want or expected, then you just say, you asked for this. Those are my favorite 4 words.
This is what you wanted.
Yep. You asked for
This
this.
is 5. But.
Yep.
Speaking of
why I like
things
Dale.
that people asked for,
Yes.
so we have, sometimes we've mentioned things go completely off the rails, they go in a different direction, you know, the campaign goes in a different, it takes on a different tone than one had intended, right,
Yep.
sometimes. Any advice for balancing humor and serious times in campaigns?
Yes. Unless everybody has agreed to it, it's super important that you give players a chance to blow off steam. In anime, it's called the beach day. It's usually almost in every anime, like no matter what's happening, they go to the beach at some point.
Beach.
What's that?
I misheard you.
Oh, a beach. Yes, to have a beach day. Introduce beach into every campaign from now until the end of
Showed
time.
up in every anime. I would believe that.
I would too. So give your players a chance to blow off steam, especially if you're playing a really intense game. Unless everybody's like, we're here for serious times. It's time for ennui forever. Then honor that, even if you're a jokey person. But, you know, getting a musicality to it, kind of like we do here at Desert Butts. It's serious times, then we do a fun thing. Like, get a musicality to it and read the room. Empathy is really, really good for helping to know what your players need in that moment. Yeah, because if everything stinks all the time, it's no fun for everybody.
Just to that, actually, one of my favorite points in a role-playing system was, as a blowing off steam, we somehow decided that we as players would have a pillow fight against each other in the inn, which allowed us all to use our abilities and weapons against each other.
But with pillows.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Down to non-lethal damage.
That's really good.
Extremely good.
That's really good.
That's amazing. Also, just to tag on there,
Yeah.
blowing off steam time is a great time for people, just to, especially if you've gone through some intense stuff, is for
Yep.
your feelings for players to work through their feelings and have good discussions and do some personal reflection and growth.
Absolutely.
Because it's just like, you know, I don't know, you're talking over beers, or
Yep.
you're at a hot spring if we're doing the anime thing, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can just, you know,
Yep. And even just taking a moment out of the game and being like, okay, we're dropping characters right now. Let's talk about this as if it were a show we were watching. Don't say I, say Throthgar, or whatever your character's name is.
Yeah.
I like Throthgar. And talk about it as if it were a show you watch and being like, oh man, when Zabar the Terrible did that thing, I was absolutely impressed because she is amazing, you know, blah, blah, blah. So that's another way to blow off steam. Yes. Anyway.
all right,
I
great.
said succinct. I'm trying.
Let's see. Okay. Here's a good one. Here's a good one for like the people who are GMing and just like, you know, wanting to do the best thing they can. And sometimes, you know, like sometimes people will catch you flat-footed. So this person says, how do you get over disappointing your players due to simply not having the ability to come up with off-the-hip situations as much as you wish you could? How do you, like...
That's what random tables are for. Like, there's a lot of random tables and things in games. If you feel like that might be something that can happen, then, like, there are a lot of random tables and a lot of different things in games. In the front of the Vampire 5th Edition book, there's a whole bunch of different people that they can run into. You can just open the book and, like, have those queued up and have those prepared if you feel like that might happen. Taking inspiration from the room, not your players, but like the room, and then trying to come up with something, or put it on your players with a clever question. What do you think happens next? And then just like be like, yeah, that is what happens. Good guess. I don't know. Lie. Just make it seem like it was your idea, or actually open it up and be like, so what does everybody think should happen next? What do you want the outcome to be? Let's try that.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a collaborative storytelling thing.
You'll see Dale in campaigns that we've done with Dale.
Oh,
Dale
yeah.
would bounce it back to us a lot
All
during
the time.
Trouble in Paradise.
Yep.
So we've had an enormous amount of like contribution to that campaign.
Yep.
And we would just bypass a lot of his plans most of the time.
Yep.
Yep. We were not.
We were great.
We were good players. We were good players.
Totally.
Speaking of DM frustration,
Yes.
I always find it frustrating when players curb stomp a particularly tricky enemy or puzzle and find it hard not to get a little salty over it. What's the best way to get yourself out of the mindset of you versus them mentality so everyone has fun? So say you put a lot of work into something
And they just
They just go
overwhelm.
around the back door.
Yep, they go around the back door and they completely overwhelm it. Preparation. Be prepared to kill your darlings. It's a writer axiom for a reason. You sometimes have to be prepared to let that go. Or if they completely bypass it, save it. Drop it on them randomly. Think about what would happen. Like, the big boss is like expecting them to come through the door, ready for some last challenge, and some jerk opens a portal, takes the MacGuffin, and they just leave. What would happen? Maybe now a giant army sweeps onto the town that was close by. Maybe because of their actions and them trying to like circumvent it, something terrible happens. Or sometimes that's going to happen according to the rules, and they're just going to completely overwhelm the big bad that you had planned. Sometimes that just happens, and you have to accept it. You have to be able to kill your darlings and be prepared for it.
They can always go to the next town and pick up a quest off the quest board and then fight another big bad with a very similar set of stats. One would say
That's correct.
identical.
Yep. If it looks different, they don't know what the numbers are. Yeah.
Let's see, Jacob. How many more of these do you want to do?
It's up to you. You're in the chair. I'm totally good here
We've got
for.
an art challenge that is going to be ready to go for a bit, and maybe like 10 minutes or so, like that. So
Yeah, that's fine.
Like
Yeah.
5:20.
Yep. You tell me, because I know we got a lot of questions in, and I want to honor that, but not take up all the time.
I just want to really quickly thank, what was it, Weasel Flap Cucumber Patch or something, for $169.90.
Oh,
donation.
wow.
Aw.
Oh, neat.
It was. I appreciate a good Benedict Cumberbatch joke.
Nice. And if you're able, we've got a couple of giveaways and things going on. If you enjoy what we would do here, think of throwing some money in the bucket.
Actually, I think it's still on Kevin Cam, which is a full set of the Japanese War of the Spark magic cards. This is a complete set of every card, including basic lands, as well as all of the planeswalkers and cards that you know and love. Full set, just for you. Any donation of $8.48 in the next 28 minutes. You can also donate a multiple of $8.48 and get multiple entries into the giveaway.
Do you like excess? Because this is excess.
This is excessive. This is incredible.
And note, you get the normal version and the alt-art version, the Japanese alt-art version. So it's double the planeswalkers, and already a lot of planeswalkers.
Yeah, it's like you get both.
Is that your stucco mono?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
What?
Good eye.
What?
Yeah. Oh.
Wow.
So many good.
Those are very cool.
Yeah. So get those donations in. The art challenge for our team is closed. We're going to go judge that in a little bit. Once GM time is over, we'll go take a quick break and take a peek.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Neat.
So Jacob, I have kind of a wide-ranging question.
Sure.
What do you often see during games, either mechanically or socially, that is easy to improve and fix, but most people or groups just don't? This is your chance to be like, hey, here's a really good level up for your role-playing behavior in general. A common mistake you see, excuse me, that could be.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, that could be like, what do you want to nip in the bud?
Talk outside of the game. Talk about what your goals are as a group and the kind of story you want to play. Or at the very least, everybody, look at everybody and be like, want to just wing it? All right. Make sure that everybody is cool with what you're doing. Set the tone of the table before the game starts. Or while the game is going. Make sure that you have a solid in-character, out-of-character mechanic. I use half a moose. So I know when somebody's talking out of character, because sometimes role-playing scenes get super, super intense. So talk to everybody, set goals, get consent for what's okay and what's not at your table. Look up safety rules, like X cards and lines and veils and things like that. I'm not going to go into it. These are things that are easily Googleable, and I highly recommend you do so. Yep.
Sorry, half a moose?
Half a moose. So when you were talking, hi, how you doing? My name is Glenn Gardner Sunson, and I'm Jacob Burgess.
All right.
Yep,
So
half a moose. I use half a moose. Yep.
That's this is me talking, not my character.
This
just
is
so
me
you
talking,
know.
not my character. And then sometimes for safety things, if somebody's out of character talking and they're like, we need a hard stop, moose on fire, and then the game stops, or X, or somebody touches the X card on the table. There's a bunch of different safety rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually do moose on fire because stopping a game is kind of a jarring thing, but seeing somebody do this always kind of lightens the mood.
Right.
Yep.
Is there any time where you've had to like obviously I don't want to talk about all like negative stuff.
Sure,
but,
sure,
like what is
yeah.
a good time when what as you a GM is like, maybe I should stop this right now? When should a GM cut stuff off?
That shouldn't just be the GM's responsibility. That should be everybody's
Ooh.
responsibility. You can set up hand signals at your table, so if something's getting like wacky or weird or something like that, and you see somebody might be uncomfortable, like you can like just give them a little hands up. Like some people actually use scuba diving signals at their table. So like, are you okay? Time, you can do this. Some people don't want to do that because it'll call attention to them that they're uncomfortable. So you have an X on a card on the table and or in front of them, and they just have to touch it, and that's it. Or you can go like this. Sometimes some people use 1, 2, or 3 fingers on the edge of the table: green, yellow, red. So if somebody does red, somebody stops the game right there. Like, hey, we gotta that's it. Meh. Yeah, scuba signals are really good. I like them too.
Excellent.
Yep.
What a good thing. I feel like we've only got a couple more questions here. So here's a good question. Sometimes not everyone has time to commit to like an infinite number of games to last for X amount of weeks. So then you like if you're doing a one shot or a shorter campaign, maybe like you've agreed to play like 3 games or something like that. How do you sort of work out pacing those games? Because you don't want them to be too rushed, you don't want them to be too slow. But sort of thing. So this person's worried about like, do you want to get the story completed? Like, how do you do that for a shorter campaign?
Ask your players for help. Characters are wacky. Like characters are wild. They'll do whatever. But you can ask your players for help. Hey, here's the goal. Here's what we want to do by the end of the game. Here's the story we all agreed to tell. I want your help in order for us to tell that story and for this to be satisfying. Because, if your players are going like, yeah, but I really, and then you're like, yeah, we've got 3 sessions of this because we're all adults. Like a new Dungeons & Dragons movie, the first 15 minutes would just be a spreadsheet with everybody's schedules on it. Like, yeah, so ask your players for help. It doesn't always have to be up to the GM.
Excellent. So maybe that's a check-in and you're like, okay, so I know we said that we want to tell the story, but now you guys are off doing a littlest potion shop.
Yeah,
are you cool with that?
Like, are you cool with that? Because we've only got 3 sessions and we can like do something, but yeah, that's exactly it. Yep.
And then they say, no, that's what we want to do, and you tear up all of your notes.
Yep. Well, then you save your notes for somebody else who doesn't want to go make a potion shop.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be flexible, I think. As a GM is what this keeps coming down to.
Yeah.
It's like what everybody wants. All right, last question. Here's a really good question about world building.
Oh, yes.
So world building is super duper important. How do you world build without overwhelming people with like all of this facts and stuff?
Oh, I keep it in the little thing in the back of my head. I enjoy running living world campaigns. I build the entire city, I build the entire world, and if players weren't in it, I know what will happen in the timeline from point A to point B. The fun for me is then throwing players in it. You don't need to overwhelm the players. You have to put yourself in the player perspective. You as a GM have a top-down view of what's going on. Every so often, you should, in my opinion, zoom into the life of a regular person. What does that look like? It's all just a slice. You don't want to overwhelm your players because you can't. You know exactly what's going to be going on and everything like that. But this is the small city that your thing is in. Like, just make sure that you keep it contained. You don't need to vomit lore and bury somebody under, Story Mountain and cause a weird lore Pompeii. I'm losing the thread of this, but you get the point.
If you zoom, maybe you can have a dialogue with an NPC who's really just worried about a dragon or something,
Exactly.
and then that leads them to a trail of organic discovery of this dragon who's making trouble.
Yes.
But you don't have to say, in the year 3800, a terrible dragon menaced the city.
Exactly. You might know that. It might be super important to you, but the player or the character in the game just wants to go do the thing And if they're into it, then give them opportunity to explore more of it. But if they're not into it, then, you know, I like environmental storytelling as well. Like, this is a thing because of X. Yeah.
I have an alternative to add, that it can be a world created by the group using some sort of system.
Exactly.
Like
Yep.
microscope or something, and then the players kind of have shared investment in the lore that
Yep.
they've built together.
Yeah.
And everyone already knows everything, so you're not getting like the big info dump from the DM about random dragon, Ciprilex.
Right. And the reason why it is that, and the X signifies the lore of the eighth circle, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yes, that is definitely a way to do it. That is a good way to do it.
It's a lot of fun. Like, I've built like worlds, and ring worlds, and space stations. And
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
neat.
You can do anything.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What was that system? What was microscope?
Microscope's one. Yeah.
I have to look that up. I haven't heard of that.
It's fun.
Oh, neat. Okay. I'm gonna check that out.
Let's do one shot one night.
All right. I think that's about it for questions.
Yep, good.
So, thank you so much for offering us your advice on how to make a sweet game world, and I hope everybody feels like their tables will be enriched either as GMs or players.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for your time and attention. I truly appreciate that. If you have any other questions, you can ask me on Twitter. I don't know if I'll have the time to answer them, but I will try.
Maybe not during Desert Bus.
Not during Desert Bus. I straight up will ignore you.
Later.
Yep.
Cool.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
That's
Jacob.
awesome.
Awesome.
Yay.